Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock, Drogheda. I'm Nick Park, and I was reading a book recently. It wasn't a Christian book, it was a detective novel. It's part of a series of detective novels set in the city of Venice in Italy. And in this novel, the detective was, in the course of his work, had to attend an incident at the hospital. And he was sat in the hospital, and it says at one point he looked at his watch and saw it was 3 a.m., the hour of bad news. That phrase really struck me. It's not one I'd ever heard before, the hour of bad news. And I thought, why would 3 a.m. be considered the hour of bad news? So I looked this up and discovered there's a lot of superstitions. For people who think their lives are ruled by luck rather than by God, there's a lot of superstitions about 3 a.m., about it being a time that if you wake up at 3 a.m., it's bad luck and bad things are going to happen, and all kinds of crazy superstitions. Now, one of the reasons for this may be that research has shown that people are more likely to die at 3 a.m. than at any other time of the day, particularly in people in hospital. Apparently one of the reasons for this, it's supposed to do with people particularly with heart disease, and some scientists they believe that this is to do with that your heart is affected because your body is producing hormones after the end of one day, getting ready for the next day, which if you already have a heart condition can actually make you more likely for you to suffer a cardiac arrest. But it's also true that more suicides take place at 3 a.m. in many countries than at any other time of the day. And so people have gotten into their head that this is a bad time. I've heard people as well often talk about early in the morning as being at an ungodly hour. I do remember hearing somebody sharing a testimony where they got up to pray. They said, "Lord, why have you got me up at this ungodly hour?" And God said, "Okay, can you tell me precisely why you think this part of my day is ungodly?" Well, it's really about praying at 3 a.m. is what I really want to talk about today, because there have been times when the Lord has woken me up with a real strong urge to pray, and sometimes it has been at 3 a.m. I remember one time in particular where I woke up at 3 a.m. I didn't know why I was awake. I turned over, tried to go back to sleep, couldn't get back to sleep, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm up, I might as well stay up and do something useful. So I went into the kitchen, sat down and began to pray, and I just felt an overwhelming urge to pray for a friend of mine in the United States. A couple of days later, I got a message from him. It was about a real family crisis to do with his granddaughter that could have resulted in her death, and that there was a sudden health crisis, and it was at 3 a.m. that morning that God had woken me up to pray. And so I've really learned to hear the promptings of God, and that sometimes if I wake up at 2:30, 3 o'clock or whatever, instead of saying, oh, it's an ungodly hour, I got to get back to sleep and struggle to get back to sleep, I say, okay, Lord, maybe you've got a reason for getting me up in order to pray. You see, in the end, there's no hour of bad news, because every hour of the day is an hour of good news. Every hour of the day is an opportunity for God to do something fresh and something new in our lives. And so I'm not going to call any hour of the day an ungodly hour, because I believe every hour of the day can be a godly hour. It's not an hour of bad news, it's an hour of good news. And so I just want to encourage you, if you find yourself waking up in the early hours of the morning and you can't get back to sleep, and you start stressing over things, get up, make yourself a cup of tea and start to pray. And just bring everything to God in prayer, and you'll be amazed at the difference that it makes. Don't allow there to be an hour of bad news in any stage of the 24 hours of the day for you. But every hour that you're awake, make it an hour of good news in Jesus' name. God bless you today. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock, Drogheda.